Do you realize?
Feels amazing. Look at the city, man. They all showed up. They all showed up.
Vandersloot gives it up. Parker to tie. You bet! Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs. Finds Rose. Rose trying to get open. Fires away. Bang! It's over. The Bulls win at the buzzer. DeRozan to win it! No! DeMar DeRozan delivers! Anderson hits it in the air to right, back at the wall, and the White Sox win it! Big one-way, Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown! Who will receive it first after it is hoisted by the captain? Will it be the 40-year-old defenseman who has longed for this moment? Yes, sir. Here is Chicago!
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you are listening to Mike on the Mic and Everything Chicago Sports Related podcast. We are back at it doing an all-shy recap. I love doing these. These are one of my favorite ones. It basically is an excuse for me being super lazy and not talking about everything Chicago sports as of late. So we're going to do a recap of just everything going on in Chicago right now, sports-wise. There's so many different other things going on. That's a whole different podcast for a different day. But right now, looking at it, there's so many different narratives we can talk about. There's so many different storylines. We can go from Bulls, the Cubs, the Bears, the Hawks, the Sky, to everything around the list. But right now, I want to start off talking about the Chicago Cubs. And not just because I'm biased, not just because I'm a Cubs fan, but looking at it right now, the Chicago Cubs have won 4 of their first 5 series, if I'm not mistaken. I'm loving every single minute of it. We just beat the Dodgers in a series, in a 3-game series. We beat them 2-1. I mean, I love it. I'm here for it. But the biggest narrative right now going around Chicago is the Aces. We got a couple of aces in the bag right now. And a lot of people, especially myself included, didn't know what that was going to look like, especially with the starting rotation going into this year. It's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of the season pans out. But as of right now, we have 2 dogs, bona fide dogs, in Marcus Stroman. Obviously, the Stro Show is back at Wrigley Field, and he's loving every single minute of it. The swag is back. The excitement, the electric energy is just back, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And Justin Steele, the man of steel himself, doing his thing. Baby John Lester is what I like to call him. Honestly, just being the best version of himself. We have a comment here as well right now. Matt Mervis coming soon. I love that. I think it's just I'm excited, man. And if you've seen the episode before, obviously Matt Mervis has been on the show before. He's a good friend of mine, and just talking to him throughout the offseason and really just picking his brain, especially when he was in the World Baseball Classic with Team Israel. It has just been a blast to really see him just continue to develop. He is mashing. Mash Mervis is mashing in AAA right now with other guys like obviously, Christopher Morel is doing his thing. He's batting over 330 right now. I mean, they're killing it. They're absolutely killing it. So I'm so happy for my guys. They're absolutely making noise, and I can't wait to see them in the show. And I'm really hoping we see Morel at some point too. But back to the conversation, really looking at it through the first 3 starts, you're looking at Jameson Taillon, obviously brought in. He has a 0-2 record so far with a 4.50 ERA. That was kind of the big name throughout free agency that we were excited to really just bring in here from New York. I'm not too crazy on it. Obviously, Taillon was one of those guys that I felt like was always going to be a middle-of-the-pack rotation guy. I didn't think, and if anybody really felt like, he was going to come in here and be an ace, like, obviously they didn't know much about Jameson Taillon. So, that's really how I feel about that so far. Obviously, in 3 games, he has 2 losses. I already mentioned the ERA. Allowed 15 hits so far, and that's just really what it comes down to. 0 long balls. I will give him that. 0 long balls and 8 strikeout. 16 strikeouts. So that's pretty cool. Marcus Stroman, on the other hand, with 20 strikeouts, 8 walks, a 1.00 ERA. I'm living for it. Marcus Stroman is doing his thing right now. 2-1 win-loss record. Should be 3-0, but we're going to get into Merriweather in a little bit, but definitely sold. And we're going to talk about Nelson Velasquez as well and why the decision. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. It's a whole thing. Justin Steele, 2-0 record so far with a 1.42 ERA. In 3 games so far. He has 19 strikeouts. So those two are just doing their thing. Hayden Wesneski with a 4.15 ERA right now only has 11 strikeouts in 3 starts. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Drew Smyly is another one of those guys as well. Right now, he's 1-1. I'm looking for the ERA on Drew Smyly right now. It's a 4.70. So it's not the greatest, but he's the only lefty we really have on this team. So, like, that is what it is. That's not going to change anytime soon. But that's definitely something for me right now that I'm looking at moving forward and saying, yo, this team could be the team. And I'm really excited about it. Are you with the new stadium? Talking about, we're also on TikTok live right now. This is more of a live episode than it is a overall just scripted episode. But are you new with the new stadium? I'm into it. If you're talking about in regards to Arlington Heights, I am with it. I'm totally down. You're gonna miss Soldier Field. I imagine it's still going to be there. They're probably not going to tear that down. That's a landmark, if I'm not mistaken. And it's probably just going to end up just being a full-time soccer thing, a full-time concert thing. And they'll probably just do a lot of tours over there and kind of just explain, what the history was of the Bears. So they'll definitely still be making their money and still be doing their thing. But, man, I'm hype about it. I'm really hype about it. It's crazy to me, though, when I really look at this Cubs team right now. There are so many different factors we can talk about. And obviously, we just talked about the rotation. Something that, we'll save that for a little bit on the Nelson Velasquez stuff. But something that's really just picking my brain right now is the consistency of the lineups and how that's really been drawn up. And I really love what we're doing right now. It's really something that I think at the end of the day is helping this team so much. Last year we had so many inconsistent lineups, but the narrative of these guys playing in the same order every single day is really benefiting them. I mean, right now, Patrick Wisdom is tied for second with Pete Alonso for the most home runs in baseball right now. I believe he's at 8. He's had 4 in 4 straight games. I mean, he's absolutely crushing it. So it's definitely something for me right now that the Cubs are crushing it on so many different levels. But I want to talk about a couple guys notably that are just really just killing it right now. And I think there's a conversation going around right now to really just be real. Is Nico Hoerner a top 5 second baseman in the league? I did a video on that on TikTok earlier. If you haven't checked that out, definitely check that out. But right now, Nico Hoerner is absolutely raking. I mean, he has a 394 OBP. He has a 338 on base percentage. I mean, I'm loving it. Or not an on base percentage, batting average. Pardon me. He has a 394 OBP, and he has the most stolen bases in the league. And obviously a Gold Glove caliber defensive player at second base and at shortstop. So that's something for me. If Nico Hoerner can remain healthy, I think we're having conversations of him being an all-star. I don't think that's an issue. Obviously the long ball isn't a huge part of Nico Hoerner's game, but I definitely do believe that, he is doing everything right now. And I think it's amazing to see, especially because he's extended. I think it would kill me right now if Nico Hoerner wasn't extended. Like if Nico Hoerner was doing these numbers, he finishes the season healthy and then just walks in free agency or whatever the case may be, that's a very frustrating situation. But now, we signed this deal. He's exceeding expectations. He's becoming the guy we always knew he could be. And that's exactly why I bought his jersey the second he came up and made his debut. But not really. But that was just me being optimistic. I bought Ian Haps as well when he first came up, and it took me a few years to really get that financial asset back. So, but both guys locked up for the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to be really exciting. Let's get to some comments. That's crazy. I got a couple comments in here. That's Frankie. Man, that's Frankie, bro. That's crazy. I am not reading any of Frankie's comments today. Frankie is bugging. I thought I had someone in here right now. Like a weirdo, but it was just Frankie, man. He said, Frankie said, am I breaking character yet? No, 100%. But man, right now, just looking at it for what it is, the Cubs are just hitting on all cylinders. Again, we just talked about Nico Hoerner, 338 batting average, 394 OBP, the most stolen bases in the league and some of the best defense at second base. I'm loving every single second of that. Let's get to Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger right now is crushing it on so many different levels. I'm loving every single second of it. Cody Bellinger, who everybody said wasn't a big a big offseason acquirement, is batting 310. Gold glove defense, obviously. He's doing his thing. He has 3 home runs and 10 RBIs, 6 walks, only 9 strikeouts, 3 stolen bases. I'm loving every single minute of it. I mean, I am absolutely loving what we're seeing from Cody Bellinger right now. And there's going to be conversations throughout the year. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely a possibility. Are we going to keep him past the deadline if he continues to play this well? Are we going to extend him? Is that something he's interested in? How much money is he going to be asking for? And obviously, there's a conversation, you have to be realistic about the guys you have in the pipeline. And the guys in the pipeline definitely are coming very fast. Pause. But it's a situation where you also have to say, listen, respectfully, my guys, Brendan Davis, Matt Mervis, they haven't done anything yet. So can you bank on that? Would you want to get away from a Cody Bellinger who was a former MVP, a former Gold Glover, if he can rejuvenate that? Do you want to give up on that early? And I think that's really the big conversation right now. But Cody Bellinger won my heart after he robbed Jason Hayward of a home run on Jackie Robinson Day. I love that. I loved it so much. I love Jason. I'm so happy Jason's raking. But the fact that we got to rob Jason of one was a cool feeling. And I'm sure it's all love. I'm sure he was like, damn, I'm sure he would have loved to get one off the Cubs. But that's really where I'm at right now. That's really something that I think, moving forward, looking at Cody Bellinger, if he continues to have the season that he's having, again, another all-star. And it's very early on in the year. So I'm not going to sit up here and act like this is going to continue to happen throughout the year. So we're just going to take it day by day. Another guy, Ian Happ, doing his thing, batting 321. Trey Mancini's only batting 196. I'd like to see a little bit more production from Trey Mancini. He has 1 home run and 9 RBIs so far. Edwin Rios, he has 1 home run. He obviously in his debut and 2 RBIs. He's batting 0.71. So not too sure how I feel about that. I'd like to see Nelson Velasquez take that spot at some point. Seiya Suzuki just made his Chicago Cubs debut of the season, and I'm loving every minute of that. He's batting 278 so far. He has 1 home run and 2 RBIs with 5 hits in his first 4 games. I'm loving that. Nelson Velasquez, 1 home run and 4 RBIs. He is batting 750. He had a grand slam. He gets brought up, and we can talk about it right now. He gets brought up. Hits a grand slam to win the game when we're down 7-0. And the part that really baffles my mind on what's going on right now in the Chicago Cubs organization is he gets brought down immediately after. And I'm not in there every single day, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I understand everything that's going on throughout the organization. But when I see a guy like Merryweather, and I'm not trying to just throw out names here. I'm not trying to just, pick at people and say, hey, you don't deserve to be in the MLB. You don't deserve to have a spot. But when you look at the roster as a whole and you look at everything they're doing, I love you too, Frankie. I appreciate you being here, dog. But when you look at what they're doing, you bring up Brandon Hughes, who obviously is so valid, I guess is the correct way to kind of just break that down. He is verified. He is a stud. He could be a great setup guy. He's going to give you a couple innings out of the bullpen. He can be that guy to finish a game and really just be dominant every single time he comes into the ballpark. And I think that's very important. You option Javier Assad. Javier Assad had a 12.46 ERA, so it makes sense. Brad Boxberger so far has a 1.42 ERA in his 7 games that he's played. Michael Fulmer, 3.86. Brandon Hughes so far has a 0 ERA in 1 game. But when I look at Julian Merryweather, 10.80 ERA in 6 games. I mean, he's allowed 8 runs, 2 home runs, 2 walks, and only 6 strikeouts. And I see that, and I go, listen, like the part that's messing with me is like, I acknowledge the fact that Nelson Velasquez isn't the most consistent guy in the room, but that's a guy that you want in this clubhouse. That's a guy, I mean, when you saw him with the cowboy hat after the game, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was the energy. It's a young guy that really just wants to make some noise. So when Merryweather, is giving you every single reason to not want him a part of this team or give up on this guy. And I think maybe a part of it's because, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the only lefties on this team outside of Drew Smyly. Maybe that's a reason. But if you have a 10.80 ERA, I don't care if you're ambidextrous, and get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So respectfully, part of my language. But that's really where I'm at with it. So I think there definitely are a couple conversations I think David Ross needs to have with himself about who he wants on this roster and who's going to make a huge impact. And I think that's definitely something for me that kind of frustrates me. If I just hit a grand slam and I got optioned when there's a guy, let me redirect that. If I got optioned for a bullpen arm and I'm looking at another guy in the bullpen who has a 10.80 ERA and who has given up several leads, and we've lost several games because of Merriweather. I mean, that's just being real. That's just being real. I'm sorry, but like that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You have lost us at least 3 games this year, single-handedly. And I think that's something that, if I'm Nelson, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense to me. And I think that's really important moving forward. And I think that's something that I would love to pick the brain of David Ross about and kind of just see where he's at with that. There's also guys like Christopher Morel in the minors right now. And I'm looking at a guy like Julian Merriweather and I'm like, what? Like, whatever. Like, I mean, let's just be real about the situation. So that's really where I'm at with it, man. And I think it's going to be really interesting. It's definitely, I appreciate y'all for 1K. I appreciate y'all, man. That's love. That's truly love. But yeah, that's really where I'm at. That's really where I'm at right now. If the Warriors go down 3-0 to the Kings, upset incoming, I'll tell you what, I'll double down. If the Warriors go down 3-0, I bet you they win 4 straight. That's truly how I feel. Now I'm one of the biggest Klay Thompson fans in the world, by the way, for context. I'm just playing. But yeah, that's a crazy. We're definitely gonna get into that in the next live a little bit later tonight after the Suns Clippers game, because I got to talk about Brody and KD, and I know Frankie's. Maybe we'll even have Frankie come on the TikTok live and talk about his hate for KD because I love it so much. But yeah, we're gonna break that down and everything and more. But looking at the Chicago Cubs, man, moving forward, it's been a lot of fun. It's been exciting. Wrigley Field baseball is back, and I think that is just something right now for me that is just very important. It's very key, getting the fans back. And that's something that, we kind of lost the last couple of years. I myself working there the last 3 years every summer, you felt that presence. You felt that presence. Towards the end, 2021 August trade deadline, it felt like we were in the World Series again because everybody was coming out to see Rizzo, Javi, and obviously Chris Bryant, who just hit his first home run ever at Coors Field in a Colorado Rockies uniform. So shout out to KB. Happy he's healthy. But, it's then Javi. That's tough. Yeah, we don't have much to say about Javi. Shout out to Big Riz, though. Shout out to Big Riz. Ayo, he's doing his thing over there in New York, man. He's taking over the Bronx. But I know Frankie's excited about it. But yeah, man, that's really where I'm at. My guy said KD is a cupcake. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, everything you just said is valid. But really, to me, man, watching fans come back and Wrigley Field and just enjoying the moment and just being present has just been so much fun. So, like, I'm just really excited to see this continue to grow, seeing the fan base continue to thrive. Obviously, guys like Matt Mervis, Brennan Davis, Pete Crow Armstrong, and many more are on the rise, and I'm really excited to see those guys make their mark. And it's going to be a lot of fun to really see them do their thing. I saw Pete Crow Armstrong had a crazy it was like he did the Javi Baez move when he slid into third base. It was insane. We're definitely going to pull up that video another time when we're going to direct that. I think he was out on the play, but it was definitely energetic. It was definitely fun. A little cocky for my liking, but definitely I love the energy. So it's a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be really dope to see him in a Chicago Cubs uniform. But transitioning, man, talking about the Chicago Bears. Let's talk about it. The Chicago Bears, the NFL draft is less than a couple weeks away. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. There's scenarios right now saying that, it's definitely possible that the Bears might end up trading back again to get more assets. I more so do believe we should keep number 9 unless it is a crazy offer. That Bears, 100%. But yeah, man, I think there's so many different possibilities right now. We really went into the draft, we really went into free agency thinking, we're going to go after guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba. We're going to go after guys like Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State, an offensive tackle, or Peter Skoronski, obviously a Park Ridge kid from Chicago. We have a lot of Chicagoans here, man. We have TJ Edwards. We have Cole Kmet. Obviously, you could bring in a guy like Peter Skoronski, Jack Sanborn. I mean, the list goes on. We have Chicago runs deep on this roster, so I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple guys. But yeah, man, it's just really interesting to see what's going to potentially transpire with that. There's rumors that the Chicago Bears are interested in Jalen Carter. If Jalen Carter's on the board, they might they might, and this is just all speculation, this is all just rumors that we're hearing through the mill, is that they might trade up if Jalen Carter is available. Because obviously a team like the Detroit Lions are definitely going to be in on him. Aiden Hutchinson and Jalen Carter would be insane, and they would be idiotic to pass up on that. But yeah, man, that's really, and yeah, like you said, I doubt it. It's definitely probably, it's going to be interesting. And that's really where I'm at with it right now is, we really don't know what direction the team's going to go in the draft. Could they trade down? Could they end up taking Jackson Smith-Njigba? Could they end up taking Jalen Carter, an offensive lineman? Are they going for a guy like Christian Gonzalez to really boost up that secondary? You're going to have Jalen Johnson on a contract year. If you bring in Christian Gonzalez, that kind of makes you feel a little bit better because at least you'll have him and Kyler Gordon for the next 3 to 4 years, or extend Jalen Johnson. And then you have Christian Gonzalez and Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon for the next several years, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, potentially, in my opinion, the best secondary in the league, or at least top 3 if they pan out. And I think that's going to be something that's really important moving forward as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be something that, we're not going to know until we know. He said, doubt it because I call you guys soon to be Super Bowl champs. I appreciate that, Frankie. I appreciate that. But yeah, I do believe that it's going to be wild. And I don't think anybody right now could really tell you straight up which way it's going to go. I think, honestly, it's 50-50 no matter what. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be really exciting. And I think it's going to be really cool to really see what's going to happen with the Chicago Bears. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. And it's going to be exciting. So, I'm pumped up for it. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. There's not a lot of other words I can use except I'm lit. Like that's really what it comes down to. Somebody sees, I just genuinely doubt the future of the Bears. I'd love to be hopeful. And J Bark, I definitely feel you. But, and I understand because we say this all the time. It's a new GM, it's a new head coach. Let's see what happens. But, right now, you've given me zero reason to doubt you in Ryan Poles. You know what I mean? Like, you've given me zero reason to sit here and say, man, I don't know if you know what you're doing. Because you traded the number 1 overall pick, got a franchise wide receiver in DJ Moore, multiple first-round picks, multiple second-round picks. You did the work. Then you bring in amazing stars in free agency. I mean, you're talking about Edmonds. You're talking about Bryant. You're talking about all these other dogs that we're just bringing in left and right. And it's looking like, hey, we might actually be able to do something. And not only did you bring in big dogs, you brought in some little ones too. And that's not me saying that they're not as important, but you have Cole Kmet and you still brought in Robert Tonyan. Like, that to me is like, yo, we're not fucking around. Like, we're here to make noise. We're here to do something. We're here to have depth now. Like, we're not going to draft a rookie tight end and see what happens. In case Cole Kmet walks, we got Robert Tonyan. We're going to extend Cole Kmet, and we got Robert Tonyan. That's the mentalities right now. There's so many different ways it can go, and I'm really excited about it. He said there's more possibility of a good future for the first time in a long time. Yeah, and that's really what I'm saying is like, man, like, dude, there's so many good things that are going on right now. So many good things that are going on right now, and I'm ecstatic for it. And to see the what's the correct word? The transition for Jalen Hurts, I guess you could say, from year 2 to year 3. And really just watching him after he got Devontae Smith, after he got Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, a great offensive coordinator, a real defense behind him, and a great offensive line. Watching that happen and just seeing him go straight to the Super Bowl and get paid, I mean, it was beautiful to watch. And, I'm not going to sit here and say, yo, we're going to be the Philadelphia Eagles in 2023, 2024. Not saying that by any means. All I'm saying is watch out for Justin Fields. And I think that's going to be the real conversation. And I think that's going to be the conversation that we make moving forward. My guy said, is it just me or should Mike be a playgirl model? That's crazy. Out-of-pocket questions today. Yes is the answer to that. But in all seriousness, man, I mean, I think there's so many different directions this team can go. I think the Chicago Bears are in a really great position right now. Personally, myself, I got asked, say everybody's available, and that being obviously the guys who we are assuming could be available. You're looking at guys like Jalen Carter, Jackson Smith-Njigba. You're looking at Paris Johnson Jr., Peter Skoronski, Christian Gonzalez. If I could pick one right now, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I mean this respectfully. I mean this totally respectfully, and I think it's definitely something for me that definitely could get me fired as a general manager, but I think I'm really into Christian Gonzalez. I'm really into Christian Gonzalez. I think that's the right move. I think really helping out this secondary, especially with a pass rush that really isn't there yet, is definitely going to be important. I want to say Jalen Carter. And my guy Frankie at the ASAP Network, we talked about it all year long. I said, if I'm the Chicago Bears and we have a top 5 pick, I'm taking Jalen Carter. He is the best athlete. He is the best player out of this draft. And I still believe that. But I think there's a lot of intangibles right now that a young Bears team like this isn't quite ready for. I think if we had the veterans, like a Danny Trevathan, a Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, a Kyle Fuller, guys like that we had in recent years, a Roquan Smith even, then there's conversations, or even a Robert Quinn. Robert Quinn does so much for the community as well. He does so much for our locker room. He is a true veteran's veteran and a true player's player. I mean, that's what it is. He's a player's coach at heart. If we had guys like that, I'd be fully on board. We got a bunch of young dogs in here. We got a bunch of young guns, and bringing in a guy like Jalen who has just been an outside issue for quite some time, I think I would have to sit down with Matt Eberflus and say, hey, listen, do you think you can maintain this? Do you think we can have a conversation, a reasonable conversation that you can mentor this kid and make him want to be the best version of himself every single day? Keep him out of trouble. Keep his nose out of things. Like that's really where I'm at with it. And if the answer isn't 110% yes, then I don't take that risk. There's too many outside sources right now talking about Jalen Carter's work ethic, talking about his off the field issues. And to be honest, he's a young man in this world. He's a back-to-back college champion, national football champion. And that's not an excuse for anything he's done, but it's to show and to explain that he's young. He's made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. And I feel like everybody in this world deserves a second chance. So I'm not going to sit up here and slander him and say that his career is over and that he's a horrible human being, because I don't believe that whatsoever. But personnel is everything, and understanding your personnel is very important. And in a league where you have so many veterans flying in and out every single year, on a young Bears team like this, we really don't have that. And I think that definitely does take away from a lot. I would love him to be in the trenches. Our defensive line right now is not great. That is being real. It is not great. And Jalen Carter would make an immediate impact. But I just don't think right now we have the personnel to really deal with that. How about that De'Aaron Fox? Hey, De'Aaron Fox is a dog. Just won Clutch Player of the Year. Beat out Jimmy Butler and DeMar DeRozan. 2 former Bulls. And I say former because Debo is probably on the move, but we're going to talk about that next. But yeah, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited about it, and it's going to be a blast. But I'm really ready for the Chicago Bears right now, for the Chicago Bears season. I also do want to say Peter Skoronski, Paris Johnson, amazing choices. I'm still interested in Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't know if they would do it just because we already have DJ Moore. You have Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Velus Jones. I don't know if you'd be willing to go number 9 overall on another wide receiver. But for a guy who used to play with Justin Fields, I want him. I want him personally. Now, if I'm a GM, do I go after him? Maybe. I don't know. I might have to just go after Christian Gonzalez. 1, availability is the best ability, and 2, he is a dog out of Oregon. He is a dog. And so is JSN. But getting into it, man. Final topic. We're gonna be talking about it right now. We already did our Bulls show. Let's we could do the Bulls for a little bit, I guess. We have a 1 point. I'm gonna recap it because there isn't much to say. Me and Rob Scott already did a show on that. 1.8% chance on Victor Wembanyama right now. Cool. We had a 1.8% chance or less on Derrick Rose, and we got him. New Orleans had a less than a 1% chance in getting Zion. They got him. So my heart is in the right place right now and being optimistic that the draft is going to be kind to us. If we can even get into the top 3, a top 5, I'll be happy. Anything less than that, as long as it's not number 7, because I'm tired of us getting number 7, I'm perfectly content with that. But yeah, it's really where I'm at with the Bulls right now. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Beverley just said he's looking to get paid 0 points in an elimination game. Sir, you can go get paid somewhere else. Sorry. But I do love Pat Bev though, but that's just being real. I think we're going to be, going to be a very interesting offseason, and we do not have enough time in this episode to really break that down. But breaking down one of our last topics of the day, Jonathan Toews doesn't retire, but definitely played his final game as a Blackhawk for now. He might come back at some point. He said it's definitely an open window to retire a Blackhawk, but he played his last meaningful game as a Chicago Blackhawk, and it was against the Detroit Red Wings or the Philadelphia Flyers, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a lot of fun, man. Watching that game, watching Jonathan do his thing, man. In the same year that we lose Patrick Kane, they filled out their contracts. They filled out their contracts, the 10-year deal. It's something that you don't see happen a lot. Guys like Jason Hayward, guys like Jay Cutler normally don't finish out their contracts. Guys like Mike Glennon don't even finish a year of it. But to be completely real, it's a weird feeling, and it really shows you how old I'm getting. You know what I mean? Like, at least in my opinion, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a 22-year-old kid, going to be 23 next month. And I've never really experienced this before. I talked to a lot of guys before, and they said, well, that's what happened with Jordan in the 90s. We experienced that with Pippen and Jordan and Dennis and all these other guys. Kukoc, I mean, the list goes on. You watch these guys build a house and build a legacy, build a dynasty, and then they just disappear. And I kind of experienced that with, obviously Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez, and Wilson, but there were levels to it. You know what I mean? Like, there were levels to it. And I felt like one championship is cool. Obviously, the one that really impacted me was Rizzo, because Rizzo had been here for so long. But to watch guys who won 3 championships in 6 years, you're looking at guys like Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Marian Hossa, Jonathan Toews, and Patrick Kane leave the Chicago Blackhawks organization. I mean, it's crazy. It's my first time really experiencing something like that. And it's wild. It truly is wild. I imagine it's what it's like when you have a franchise quarterback finally retire, but I've never had a true franchise quarterback, so wouldn't know. At least in my lifetime. No disrespect to Sid Luckman, Jim McMahon, or anybody else. But yeah, man, I mean, it's crazy. So I do want to tip my cap. I do want to say congratulations to Jonathan Toews. Good luck to Patrick Kane finishing out the playoffs with the New York Rangers. Thank you for everything. The memories have been insane. I'm never going to forget them. I remember every single year watching it with my mom and dad and my sister and just celebrating and chasing the cup, all around town, trying to get pictures with it, meeting the players. Man, I got to meet Scott Darling one time. It was a super dope experience, man. We were at the Blackhawks convention in 2015, and the coolest thing. So my sister and her boyfriend, who's my brother-in-law now, but at the time they were just dating, and they were with some friends of ours from California. And it was so funny because I was just like, man, I'm 15. I'm gonna go do my own thing for a little bit. And the funniest part of it was, I go sneak upstairs. I have a bunch of Blackhawk pucks that we bought. I have a Sharpie. I'm looking for dudes, man. And I see this door. It's in the hotel. I forget what hotel it was. I don't remember. I can't remember the name. It was the same hotel every year. But we go in there, or I go in there, and it's a door, and it says "Do not enter." So I'm 15. I'm going in. So I walk in. Scott Darling stops me, goalie of the Blackhawks. I was actually at the game in triple overtime against the Nashville Predators, where they won, and Scott Darling started for Corey Crawford. So I run on the Scott Darling. He goes, "Yo, kid, what are you doing in here? Like, you're going to get busted." So he goes, "Here, I'm going to sign this real quick for you." Signs it for me. I see security coming. Andrew Shaw bumps into me. He goes, "What's up, dude?" And then he just keeps walking. I'm like, damn, I just met Andrew Shaw. Was like my favorite Blackhawk next to Duncan Keith. And I love my fighters. I love my goons. But yeah, man, he was like, "Get out of here, kid," before the security comes. So that was a really dope experience, man. And just watching those guys throughout the years, I got to meet Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, from a distance, not personally, but from a distance. So that was super dope, man. And just, yeah, I have no words really, man. I mean, it's a crazy experience. But listen, man, before we get out of here, I do want to say we have some big news coming. I'm really excited about it. We're not going to talk about it today, but Chicago Sky basketball is going to get a lot bigger this year for Mike on the Mic and just myself in general. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. It's going to be insane. And we're going to have interviews coming up very soon with so many different players. Kalia Copper, Marina Mabry, Rebecca Gardner is going to be back in the building at Wintrust Arena. You guys definitely got to check that out. Coach James Wade and Stana Evans and so many others. I'm ecstatic about it. can't wait to see our old family as well, and Candace Parker, Azare Stevens, Courtney Vandersloot. Maybe we'll even see Allie Quigley come back to a couple games this year. I know she still lives in Chicago, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. You guys are the best. Again, you can find me on all streaming platforms. You can especially find me on Instagram and TikTok, is where I'm the most active, at theshy.kid. If you're new here and you're watching on TikTok right now, definitely hit that follow button. I appreciate you guys for being here. Go Cubs, go Bulls, go Sky, go Bears, go Hawks. And always remember, if you're a White Sox fan, we always got room for you on the north